Welcome to Beyond the Frontline podcast, where your hosts, U.S. Air Force veterans Donna Hoffmeyer and Jay Johnson, will help you transition from the front line to the home front. Listen every other Wednesday as they will bring great conversations, resources, tips, and feel-good stories that will resonate and relate. Now, here's your hosts, Donna Hoffmeyer and Jay Johnson.
Hey everyone, it's Donna with Beyond the Front Line, and I am here getting ready to do a wrap-up of our Veteran Treatment Court with my partner in crime over here, Jay Johnson. Hello, Jay.
What part of that am I? The partner, the crime? How does this whole dynamic work?
You are the partner and the crime.
Oh, I'm both. I wondered. We throw that out there, and I've always been curious which side of the equation I fall on.
No, you're the crime. You know what? And I was just
here it goes.
I was just talking about you the other day, not in a bad way, but somebody was asking me about like how I got involved with things. And this story's come up many times about people getting out of the military, and then we're gun shy, right? We don't really know what we want to do. And what do? We just kind of stay home, take a breath, unless we're going to jump into a job. But like for me, I needed a break, and I didn't have to go back to work. Yeah. And so people were like, how'd you get involved in like the 82,000 things I'm doing? And I said, well, it all started with a guy named Jay Johnson. And the point I was actually making, I was being funny, but the point I was making was like, it sometimes takes someone to kind of say, hey, come to this, I'll be there, right? Because as everybody hears me and they think I'm probably a loud mouth and, sassy and extroverted and all this stuff, you know me, and I'm actually pretty shy in that initial go out there. I'm like, oh, people don't want to hear me. I talk too much or whatever. You say all those negative things. And so you just don't. Right. And then you're over there like, hey, come do this with me, or hey, try that, or hey, come on out here and join this committee and be my co-chair, or whatever the heck it is you're doing.
Well, and what's fun in all of this, and you've given me grace about this, but I was involved in so much. I feel like we've talked about this even before on a podcast, but I was involved in so much that I finally hit a little bit of a burnout
You
phase.
did.
And because I hit that, and you have to take, that inward kind of reflective look, and the only one that can fix that when you're in those situations oftentimes is you.
Yes.
Sometimes people could be around you and say, I'm not going to let you do that because
few and
but
far
but a lot of it are things that we say yes to, or things that changes we have to make in our life. So I started to really dial back, which left you at that point involved in some things that I had brought you into, and yet you're still soldiering on, right?
Yes, it did, Mr. Johnson.
Yeah,
it did.
But it's fun for me in this regard, though, because
you're not doing them.
Well, that too, that's true. But it's fun for me to get to watch you now in this light. Like, not this month, but last month I attended a veterans breakfast that we started, and I have not been there in a few months. And so when I was there last month, I went to support a friend who was, one of the speaker sponsors that day. But it was fun for me because I had been removed, and you've, kind of stepped up a little bit more even than you were. You were already doing a lot. And it was fun for me to sit back and just watch you, the way you engage people, the way you now interact. So even though the shyness part, or the more reserved part is what I will say, of your personality, you do a really amazing job today of turning on when you need to turn on, and then being authentically you and having that time you need for you in a really balanced way. At least that's my observation.
It's like
you're doing it really well.
It's an ugly teeter-totter. That's what I would call it.
Well, that's what a great example, because I like to say when people are looking for balance in their life, it's like 4 tires on a car.
Yeah.
You notice one tire is low, you put air in it, but you put all your attention on this one tire, and what happens to the others if you're not careful? They also will. So you're never in a perfect place of balance. So when you use teeter-totter, that's a really great example.
You remember when you were kids, when we had those, we don't have those nice teeter-totters they have now. We have those wooden ones that give you splinters up your butt.
Yeah.
And the big kids would get on one side to see if they could fling the little one aside.
Yeah, or someone would jump off.
Or jump off, and you
land on your telephone.
That's probably why we all have spinal decompression.
Probably.
It's not the military. It was the bad teeter-totters.
Don't tell the VA that. Yeah, don't. That was a pre-existing. Don't tell them. Don't tell them. You know what, though, Donna, I think this a little bit that we're talking about, I think this is unique to veterans. I think this is unique to military service, which is when we sign the agreement to enter the United States military in whichever branch of service, we're really signing it open-ended for anything that may come. No guaranteed time off. Your duty is your duty, regardless of how many hours a day that looks like. You've been deployed. I've been deployed. Many of our listeners, I bet, who are veterans have been deployed. And those are some long days. And when I left the deployed environment in particular, I'm going to bring this home. I'm going to tie this together to set up what we're going to talk about. I had been there for 8 months straight and no real downtime. And so mentally, I was fried. Yep. Right. I was so tired, mentally fatigued, and it takes time to decompress. Well, we have such unique experiences in the military, and some of those things happen to us and we suppress them. They stay hidden. And then because those things are there, though, people may make unconsciously poor choices that there could be some correlation to those things they experienced. And that's what brought this series up. You're the one that said we had to do a series on this little thing called Veteran Treatment Court. Yeah. And we did an amazing series, I think, Donna. So I'm just going to turn that to you and let you kind of talk about what we did in this series as we begin to wrap up.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It was an incredible series because it, again, like a lot of my life, it was a happenstance. And so through another book author that happened to be a veteran, and he happened to work for the Veteran Treatment Court in San Antonio in LeBaron County, and told me about what they did. And I thought, wow, our Chamber Veteran Council, that's what we could do. We could do an event for them of some sort. And so it never could seem to materialize. And I'm, after many, many decades, finally realized, like, when things aren't materializing, it's not the right time, right?
Right.
So I let it go. He ended
Seasons.
He ended up getting a different job. And then at the same time, our chamber president, Rhonda, said, Donna, for the Veteran Treatment Court in Comal County, the judge is extremely engaged. Yeah. And so I said, oh, well, let's talk. And we did. And that started a whole bunch of other things. It started the Veteran Awareness Initiative that's just got kicked off. Yeah. And then I happened to mention it to our executive director, what was going on. And initially, God bless you, Cindy, she was trying to say, we should start a new podcast on that. I'm like, God bless it. No, I can't start more. My husband will kill me. But I said, I think we definitely have enough for a series to do this series. And here we go, right? We have Veteran Treatment Court series. And I mean, we hit almost every angle. I think I said in the other podcast, we missed the lawyers. It was nothing to do with them specifically, just our schedules. Yeah, they have a little bit more labile schedules. And then we couldn't get the Veteran Justice Officer. That's the liaison between the Veteran Treatment Court and the VA. And I was really bummed about that because, the VA has many of its own struggles. And this would have been nice to highlight something that they do that a lot of people don't know about. Yeah. That's a real positive. But they were not game. And so we were like, okay, no problem. But other than that, I
mean, we covered the gamut.
We covered the gamut.
Started with the judge.
Yes.
And concluded with someone who went through the Veteran Treatment Court, talked to somebody who it may have benefited had it been in place. Yeah. The full gamut on this series. And I shared with you and with our listeners when we started doing this, I'd never heard of it. And yet they're in every state, right? You don't know what you don't know.
They're in almost every county.
Yeah, unbelievable. Until this came to light and we did this series, I honestly had very little awareness of any of this.
Well, likewise. I mean, and matter of fact, what was really interesting was when I brought out the Veteran Treatment Court case manager from Bear County, I brought him to the veteran breakfast to speak, and he got to talk about his story and what he does. And I remember one of our friends, Tony, whips around and looks at me when he's hearing about this Veteran Treatment Court. And he's like, Donna, did you know about this? And
yeah.
I'm like, well, I do now. I mean, that's why I brought him out. And he was just mind blown at all this. Because why? Because we hold all veterans near and dear to us.
Yeah.
And when we see those veterans that have made decisions because they are struggling, right? And these decisions are leading them into legal issues and criminal issues, it rips our heart apart,
right?
Because we know that that is not who they are.
Right.
These are not people that are like, yeah, I think I'm just going to shoot up or I'm just going to drink. I mean, I remember one time, it kind of broke my heart. It was a little humorous because I'm a nurse and we have warped medical humor. But he said to me, he was struggling with PTSD. And I said, are you using any drugs or alcohol? And he goes, I was drinking a bottle of Jack a night and it didn't do anything for me. And I just stopped. And I kind of chuckled because I thought, what an interesting comment. He was lucky in one sense. He could just put it down. So that didn't work. He was able to just cold turkey. Yeah, there are many others that it didn't. It was a stepping stone. Maybe it started with drugs. Maybe it moved to started with alcohol and then moved to drugs. And, gambling, sex addiction, those are all coping mechanisms, right? We don't eating. I mean, food we have to live, but it also can be a coping mechanism. Sure. So we know all these people really had a rough go. And I think what we highlighted in the series very well is that, and we asked some of the people we interviewed, how many of these people are dealing with PTSD? And remember, they were like, oh, every single one of them. A lot. Almost everybody.
It's a unique part of military service. Even if you don't deploy, there are things that are just so uniquely ingrained in the culture and things that we experience that, someone who is not serving wouldn't be subjected to.
I think of two right off the top of my head. So mortuary affairs, right?
Yeah.
There is Justin. I forgot his last name. Sorry, Justin, if you're listening, but he works at Warrior's Heart.
Okay.
It's a nonprofit rehab out on the west side of San Antonio. And he wrote a book. And of course, it's slipping my head right now. But I think it was No More Tears, or I can't remember the name of it. But it was his experience on receiving all these soldiers one after the other and what they did and how these guys in mortuary affairs were suffering from like a secondary PTSD from dealing with this over and over on a mass level, right?
Yep.
So there's that. And then the other one, the RPAs, the pilots that are flying the drones and the teams that are flying the drones. It's not just a pilot. There's usually a team, right? And I remember when the drone was just kind of coming up, right? And I've heard this many times. I just listened to another podcast and the guy, he was a lawyer, and he said the same thing. He's like, when they're saying, oh, these guys are dealing with like PTSD, he's like, I was like laughing. He's like, oh, come on. You're like, you sit in your cushy chair, you play a video type game. And he goes, and boy, what an idiot I was.
Yeah.
And I've worked with some of those guys. I worked with a commander of an RPA unit, and he's like, it's real, Donna. He goes, it is so real. He goes, I had a female RPA pilot. He goes, did a mission that day. It didn't go well. And typically when you hear it didn't go well, there's civilians or children involved. Yeah. And she went home that night and she had a 2-year-old child. And he goes, I could not get her back in the seat from that day on. It absolutely crushed her.
Yeah.
And I was like,
well, I think just from the human aspect of it, right? We have a common friend. I don't want to say his name, but I bet you'll know. And because I bet he shared this with you, but I've heard him say that things he directly participated in that resulted in loss of life, many of them bad guys, right? Yep. That get put into an award package, right? You get recognized for fulfilling the mission that was given to you.
Yes.
And doing it in the appropriate way. You know, when you're in, you feel this sense of, man, I did my job. It's this mission piece. But then one day he said he woke up and started reflecting on those same very things. and it had a very different feel to him.
Moral injury.
And it really hurt him. And, not to presume that this only happens to men and women serving in the military. I'm sure that our police officers and other people, first responders, get, unfortunately see and are parts of, some things too that cause them.
Well, I'm bring up too our friend that she was a police officer during 9/11.
Oh yeah, very much so.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll bring one close to home because a lot of people don't know, but Jay was actually involved with Oklahoma.
Yeah, right? The Murrah bombing, Oklahoma City, going in and sifting rubble afterwards. I've shared that with you. Yeah. There's still things that I just continue to think on.
Yeah.
And it's tough.
Yeah. And you take that, right?
Yeah.
And you have reflections, you flash back into it and think about it and stuff, and it changes your being, right? You have that experience that you hope nobody else ever has, but then there's another part of you that you're like, I have an insight that nobody else has, right?
That's right.
And it changes you. And sometimes people cannot overcome that. And sometimes they make this decision that has caused, it just compounds it, right?
Yep.
They end up with
poor choice,
seeking.
I didn't mean to step on you.
You're fine.
But seeking escape or
Escapism.
A means of to deal
Escapism.
with whatever is weighing on.
Add to the fact, I actually remember a friend of mine worked. She works at Secretary of the Air Force level.
Yeah.
And she was going to work for the JAI, Joint Artificial Intelligence. And they were trying to do predictive analysis on people coming into the military. So essentially what they're doing is they're trying to profile people like on a mass level to be able to say that this person's chance of suffering from compound issues is high. And at what point do they not want to accept those people? Now, that's a very brief, I'm sure there's a lot more detail to it. But I remember we're talking about it and I laughed and I was like, oh, okay. So basically you're not going to have anybody in the military because you do understand that a lot of people that join the military are doing it for structure in a life that they didn't have previously.
That's true.
Who was one of our, and James Eastland, right? When we interviewed him.
So true. Yeah.
If you guys haven't heard his podcast,
please go back and listen to it. Yeah. I mean, when she says that, when you say that, Donna, to our listeners. You
connected with him like that.
Yeah. Donna and I did an episode as part of this veteran treatment court with James. So when we say go back and listen to his podcast, we mean one of our episodes.
Yes.
Beyond the Front Lines as part of the veterans treatment court. And that's exactly it, Donna. You're right.
Yeah. And so I was like, what population are you going to have? Because that a lot, I don't know what the percentage is, but I would say a good percentage of people come into the military that have had unstructured lives or maybe abused lives. And then they come in to get away from that. And so now what you deal with is complex PTSD because they have childhood and they have adult. And I will tell you, I'm going to get on a little soapbox here. When my last job, this was something I would kind of lose my mind over, is that when we had people in our program, and just a very brief overview, these were Guard and Reserves that got injured in a duty status, we would either keep them on orders or put them back on orders to help them get their medical care through the military, which is what the military was designed to do, right? If you got hurt on orders, the military takes care of you. Okay, well, having said that, I remember that a lot of times they would try to nitpick and they would say, oh, well, what is the root of their problem? And what they were trying to find out was, did they have childhood issues? And I would come back every time and say, it doesn't matter. Right. You know why? Because the military accepted them. The military put them
through responsibility.
Put them through their own paces and caused whatever trauma, obviously unintentionally, but it's there, caused that trauma, and sometimes intentionally. And now they have complex PTSD because they were running and trying to find a way to survive.
Right.
And maybe they didn't handle it all right, but they were doing the best they could. And they came in the military to do better. And maybe that wasn't all dealt with. And boom, here we are. Yeah. So you get to own it.
That's right.
There you go. Right. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That was always a point of contention for me.
Yeah. No, see, that's real. And I think that's what I hope our listeners have been able to mine from this series,
Yes.
which is, don't just assume that when you look at someone, in this case, specifically talking about veterans,
Yes.
that they have it all figured out and they have it all together, and that the choices they made were just bad. Yes. And who hasn't? Can we just go there? Who hasn't among us, any one of you listening to this, hasn't made a bad decision in your life, right? Mm-hmm. Every one of us, to greater or lesser degrees, have made a poor decision in our life. Some of us, it has greater ramification on the back end of whatever that decision was. But we all have something. And what came to light, and what has been amazing about learning about these veteran treatment courts, and as you eloquently pointed out, exist virtually, if not entirely, in every county around the United States, as a mechanism, a vehicle to address veterans specifically who may have some underlying things that played a part in some poor choices they made. They have to agree to participate in the program. It has high expectations. It has very strenuous guidelines and boundaries or gates that they have to achieve. But if they do all of that for anything below felony, I think that's what we talked about, right? It has to be below felony level. If they get accepted into these programs on the back end of that, after they have completed the program, they have an opportunity to have that expunged. Is that right?
Or the record can be hidden, one of the two, so it doesn't.
And it gives them a chance to get the care they need, to get to the underlying issues, and hopefully to allow them to be more productive and make better decisions on the back end.
In some cases, their give back is to become one of the mentors to them. Look at Wolf, right?
George he was amazing. I love Wolf.
And now he has become a mentor to other people now with one less toe.
But I was just about to say, don't even expand on that. I love it, because if you're listening to this and you're thinking, what did she just say?
You have to go listen.
You've got to go listen to the episode with Wolf, because it's real. You want to talk about an amazing human being.
He was amazing.
Just like Carla, right? Very vulnerable. Just, hey, here's the kinds of things I did, what I fell into, but it was where he was when we conducted the interview and what he was undergoing in that time. Gosh. People need to go listen to that. But the program worked for Wolf.
It did.
And today he's mentoring.
Yes, and he is mentoring. And Carla, Carla is giving back, right? Man. Carla is giving back on a high level.
She's amazing.
And she's working, they're writing letters to Congress. And, she sits at tables with very influential people now. And
You know what I loved about the interview?
Amazing.
You know what I loved about the interview with Carla is no regret, really. No. I mean, I didn't hear any of that in her voice. It was lessons learned. How can I take and apply what I've learned? How can I share it with others? How can I be an advocate for others? How can I give back, help? It was just all forward, optimistic, hopeful.
Yes.
And I love people like that, right? Because again, I think we talked about this during the interview with her. Not a single one of us are going to make it through this thing called life without a few nicks and dings along the way. So instead of wallowing in that, right, she was talking about how we can use that to benefit others.
And we're all terminal.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'll tell you a funny story.
That's true.
So a little plug for what's coming up is that Coming Home Well, the parent podcast, is in collaboration with another network called Whole Care Network. Right?
Very cool.
And these guys are all about the caregiver side, right?
Yeah.
And everything would do with caregiving, and not just military, not just veteran stuff, across the board caregiving, right? And so they have all kinds of angles and different podcasts with that. Well, we did a promo, and unfortunately you couldn't be at it.
Sure.
We did say hi to you.
Oh, good.
But we did the promo and just saying like, hey, this is what's coming. And Susie Landolfi, who is one of our podcasters on Coming Home Well, and she does Be Crazy Well. She's a therapist. She's 73 years old. I say this because she does not look her age, and she has so much life in her.
I love people like
that. And she says, she goes, it's great. I woke up this morning and life is good, right? Every day I get to wake up life is good. She goes, because we don't have forever, right? We don't. Yeah. And she's like, I'm 73. There's reality here, right? And she is just living life to the fullest. The lady still boxes 3 times a week. With one of George Foreman's son.
I don't want to get in a scrap with her.
Right. And so she just really, that's what I aspire to be. I told my kids, I'm like, I'm going to be the grandma that's going to have the hot pink hot pants, and I'm going to spoil the grandkids. I'm going to come flying in the door. And my daughter was like, I sadly can see that.
Yeah. I kind of had a mental picture too of all of that. You know, when you talk about being, all of us are terminal, meaning there's an end point for all of us. I have another way I say that, and I'm a simpleton, you know, because I grew up in Oklahoma. I like to say we're all on the same train. We're just going to get off at different platforms, right? Yeah. We don't know when that will be. But at the end of the day, we ought to enjoy this thing we have, because it's not a dress rehearsal, right? We don't get to do this, figure it all out, and then we get another go. No, this is the go. So we either learn and keep moving forward and stay in this thing, because what's the alternative? To throw our hands up and just say, I quit?
Right.
And
that's
I don't
not
want
fun.
that. No, I don't want that.
And I'll tell you, when you find the like-minded people, so you and I clicked, I swear to God, like instantly.
Pretty quickly.
Really fast. And we didn't know really anything about each other.
No, we did not.
I don't know, just somehow we clicked, right?
That's true.
And I will tell you, through Jay dragging me to things that I thought I'd never go to, and like I would hear stuff, I'm like, what's a chamber? I don't know. Yeah. And then off he drags me, and I'm like, networking. Oh my God, please don't make me go. A networking meeting, you actually meet to network. Dragged me to that. You know, he brought me into these things that I didn't tell you. I went only because he was there and being nice, and I was like, okay, I'll do it because I like him, and okay, I'll be kind. And then I started to see the value, because the value was not to me. It was not, I get to meet all these business owners, like whatever. That wasn't my thing. It was meeting people that thought like me. I was like, whoa, other people are my speed.
And we lose community when we step out of uniform.
Yes.
Right? Because we have this really tight-knit group, and you got to find another community.
And I will tell you, crazy things happen. And I will tell you one of the things that happened, because I just asked you about to do this the other day, is that I am in my own networking group now. Lord help me, but I am.
Full social butterfly, everybody. No matter what you hear, she is out there.
I'm out there. Yeah. So anyways, I made a comment. We were talking about, because we talk about other things that we're doing besides our business. And I made this comment about working with veterans and veteran advocacy. And I said, you know, one of my goals is to get let me preface, we have 2 people in our group. One sells tickets for the Spurs, and one sells tickets for SAFC, the soccer team, and missions, right? Right. And so I said, one of my goals is to get a suite or a box at one of those events, baseball, soccer, or basketball.
Yeah, you didn't preface.
Right. I said to get that. I said, because I'll tell you, this is what happens. It's military night at some event. And I said, and don't think we're not grateful, because we are. But the frustrating part is that sporting event is selling the tickets and the nosebleed seats that they can't normally really sell. True. And they're shoving us up in there going, look what we did for veterans. And you're like, yes, thank you. Yeah. Grateful, yes, because it is free. But at the same time, I come back with, we can do better, right? Yeah. So this was what I said. Not kidding you. 2 weeks later, roughly, I have one of the real estate agents come up to me. He's a veteran. He goes, you have a box, you have a suite at the missions game. I said, what? He goes, we're doing this. We have 3 suites. Now, we're not doing it to say, look, you get a suite and veteran, come in and look at the highlights.
Or look at us. No.
Nothing to do with that. We are bringing people into an environment that they are able to engage with other people and watch a baseball game, because you can't be out in the seats doing this, right? Yeah. And so the intent is that the veterans get to come in and they get to talk with other people, that some of them are business owners and veterans, some of them are non-veterans and business owners, and just to meet them as people. Yeah. They all know they cannot sell to the veterans. They can exchange phone numbers. They can talk. They can do all that stuff. They're not to sell them anything. Yeah, it would be very disingenuous,
wouldn't it? Right, to have this opportunity and get them in a room and then throw down sleazy sales pitches at them. That's
you
not
can
what
send all your swag. They're like, can we bring swag? I said, truckloads of it. I don't care. You'll get all that away.
Yeah. Military people love wearing swag. So we'll go out there and represent a brand.
Absolutely. But come on in and let people, you be vulnerable to our veterans and say, hey, what you're seeing, this was the mountain I had to climb. And these are the ones I'm still climbing. And these are the cliffs I fell off. And this is how I picked myself up. And life isn't always rosy, but it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. And you're going to find your community. And you don't know, out of that, people are like, oh, there are people that think like this. Because people like me, and I'll say me specifically, because I do have a very squirrely brain and I am a very visual thinker. Like I think big vision and I can get all the way down to the technical aspects. It didn't in my world always drive in the military. Sure. They're very closed-minded in some realms.
I 100% agree. Stovepipe. That's what I call it. Stovepipe.
So here I am like thinking, I'm like, oh, this would be great. And I was getting shut down in every corner. And after 8 years of that, you get exhausted. After really 21 years of it, you get exhausted. So I get to create. This was literally handed to me. And I'm like, oh my God, people that think like I do. And I've heard more yeses in the last 2.5 years than I have heard in an entire military career.
Well, it's fun, Donna. And I think that's another, point to just call out about your own growth and maturation in this new place in life. Post-military for you is you're finding your niche. You're finding your voice. I love to say to people when I'm coaching, you don't get what you don't ask for. I mean, you painted a picture, you threw it out there, and unbeknownst to you, somebody picked up what you put down and said, you know what, we're going to make this happen.
I'm asking for an island next year.
No, we need an island. Yes, we want
military veteran island.
Yeah, there we go. I think that'd be amazing. There was something else you said a little while ago as we get ready to wrap this up that I think is important. You said, hey, when we met, we clicked pretty quickly. I just feel like it's good for people to know this. This doesn't mean Donna and I agree on every nuance of everything. We have philosophical differences on things, but you know what works with you and I is when we come together as friends, when we're collaborating as friends, when we care about each other as friends, we avoid the things that could be pitfalls just to support one another, love one another, and express value and appreciation for one another.
Well, it would be boring.
The world would look so much better if people could quit doing those kinds of things that create division.
Yeah, right? Because there is not one thing that defines us.
That's true.
And I think in this crazy time and space right now, we put there's a lot of that. Yeah, we're boxing them. It's true. And I have friends of every faith, religion, spirituality, atheist, agnostic, you name it, political affiliation, everything. And I just look for the middle of that. Like, is your core good?
Yeah,
and if it is, we can connect. And
I agree.
I guess, we kind of went off on little side talks, but it all wraps into the same thing to me, which is when you're getting out, if you are struggling, there is so much out there. And if you're not sure what to do, start with a veteran friend that you trust and get to know them, and your veteran friend, trust their circle, because that's how I did it. I was like, I don't know who to reach to because I don't trust all these weird people that I don't know anything about. They're all, and Jay actually kind of hit it home to me because networking, I hate the word. I still hate the word. And he's like, Donna, here's another way to think about it. He goes, this is how I do it. I just get to know people. And then if it resonates, then I think about doing business with them. But I got to get to know them first before I'm ever thinking about doing business. And I'm like, oh, that totally makes sense to me, right?
Yeah, I think we've said this in a previous episode too. People do business with those they know, like, and trust. Authentic. And trust is a key piece of it.
Yes.
There are some people who will not like you unless they trust you. And then there's others who will not trust you unless they like you, right? So it's just this little nuance inside of that. But maybe since you've expressed this aversion to the word networking, maybe we should just call it relationship building.
Yeah,
right?
That's a better term.
Yeah, just get out.
Relationship building.
Yeah, just get out and love people. Donna, fun as always in studio with you. What an amazing series. What are your final thoughts? This was your baby, this VTC.
Putting the baby to bed. But a lot of good stuff has come out of it. And the one thing we actually want to tell everybody is that we are actually going to take a break for the summer because as much as Jay and I love doing this, and we do, because we light up every single time we come in here,
Sure.
and we love meeting all these people. We are both slammed and swamped, and we have families, and it's summertime, and we have the luxury of having our own business and setting it up how we want it to look.
That's right.
And so we do the podcast absolutely willingly, freely, voluntarily.
Labor of love. Just
absolute labor of love. But we also know that in order to do this really well, we actually need to take some breaks. And our executive director, she's the one that kind of was like, you guys should take a break.
She must have heard it in my voice, you think? She
I
must have said, Jay sounds
Jay's
frazzled.
tired. I'm tired. And she's like, take a break. And she's just awesome. Cindy hides in the background, and she's like, it's awesome. Back there. But she didn't like to come out, but I always tease her. She really is the one that makes all this happen.
She's good.
And she really does care.
Absolutely.
She really said, like, I think you guys should take a break.
But this doesn't mean they're going to get a break if they choose to listen, because I think, Cindy, they're going to replay some back
the
sessions.
Podcasts are there.
They're housed. They're out there. You can go pull these up.
They're not going anywhere. We're just going to be off. I think the last one comes out because we pre-record. So the last one comes out. This one will come out July-ish, and then you'll hear from us again probably starting about September timeframe.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's okay. It's good.
Yeah, it's fun. You know what? It might be a good time too, just to plug our listeners and say, hey, listen, while we're recharging our batteries, maybe it's a good time for you to kind of think about things you would like us to cover and share some ideas with us.
That's
and say, you know what, I would love to hear, Donna and Jay, and drop us a line. We say that at the end of most of these things, like, follow, share, because we want to be a voice and an advocate for our listeners. But we also want to hear from you, because we need to know what you would, love to have us advocating on, or how we could best benefit you.
I'll tell you a secret about Jay.
Oh, here we go.
Jay, so I'm the extrovert introvert. Jay is a complete extrovert. Like, he is energized by people. I get energized, and then I need to go recharge, like with a book or sit at home for a little bit. But he is thoroughly energized by people. So when we don't hear from our audience, he will say to me, I don't know if we're getting to anybody.
That's true.
And he has said this numerous times to me.
That's
and so
true.
I'm finally outing it. Is that he loves to hear. And when I say loves to hear, I do not mean, oh, Jay, I think you're awesome.
That's true.
It is not that. He loves to hear people's thoughts. He loves to hear people's stories. And we both do. Don't get me wrong. I love it just as much. But I'm one of those people that I'm all like, I know it's getting out there. I'm good. We're moving. And I know those people are hearing it. Jay loves to hear it. I would be a liar not to say I didn't like it also. But he really enjoys people saying, I like this because of that.
Yeah.
I loved hearing this. Thank you for that resource because it helped. Or we would like to hear something about this.
That's true.
Be kind to Jay, and over the summer, please send this boy an email.
Yeah, drop us something. Just let us know. It's funny to hear you say a complete extrovert and gets recharged by being around people. That's true, except when it's people in cars all around me. I don't like traffic.
Oh, no, you don't. My Lord,
no, that's
you do
totally,
not.
entirely different experience.
It's a whole different if we did a podcast while he was in a car, you would shut the podcast off.
Yeah, you would say, wow, I never heard that side of him before. That's true. I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress.
That's right. All right, so we're going to wrap this up. We will see you guys probably in September. Please, again, give us your thoughts, because we have no problem researching or building a new content list with what you guys would find interesting. So, Jay? No,
nothing. Just we're very grateful, thankful for all of you.
Yep.
We really do seek to bring our best every time we step into this. Donna, I hope you have an amazing summer.
Likewise.
Time with kiddos. Yep, I'm looking forward to doing some big things over the summer and can't wait to get back in September.
Me too. So, all right, everybody. On behalf of Coming Home Well and our podcast, Beyond the Front Line, we hope you guys have an amazing summer, and we will catch up with you in the fall.
Take care, everybody. Bye for now.
Thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode and supporting our veteran and veteran caregiver community. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service, and it's 100% online. With BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 30,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a wide range of issues. To get started, you just answer a few questions about your needs and preferences in therapy.
That way, BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network. Then, you can talk to your therapist however you feel comfortable, whether it's via text, chat, phone, or a video call. You can message your therapist at any time and schedule live sessions when it's convenient for you. If your therapist isn't the right fit for any reason, you can switch to a new therapist at no additional charge. With BetterHelp, that is better, H-E-L-P, you get the same professionalism and quality you expect from in-office therapy, but with a therapist who's custom-picked for you, more scheduling flexibility, and at a more affordable price. Visit BetterHelp.com/ComingHomeWell to access a 10% discount. Sign up today to make your mental health a priority.
Thanks for listening to Beyond the Front Line, a podcast of Coming Home Well. Join us every other Wednesday. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. Thanks again. And until all are home and all are well.